Hello Horror Hounds, as requested by the Deadly Dames of Horror and Z Rysek. Today's film is going to kick off a little mini theme, train-based horror films that I'm going to call Blood on the Tracks. It's a 1972 Spanish-British production. It's probably the best film that Hammer never made. I suspect, like me, an awful lot of you will have seen this at a young age and hold it very dear to your hearts because of that. A lot like The Beast Must Die. The same is true of Horror Express, although I would argue that Horror Express is a much, much better film than The Beast Must Die. According to the credits and according to the back of the DVD box, it's directed by Gene Martin and written by Arnaud Dussault and Julian Halavy from an original story by Gene Martin, the director. And we're going to call bullshit on that. It's generally widely accepted now, I think, that this is one of three that I know of adaptations of John Campbell Jr.'s novella Who Goes There, which was made into The Thing from Another World, and most famously John Carpenter's The Thing. If Hammer had made The Thing, it would be this. And yes, that is as good as that sounds. So a brief synopsis in case you haven't seen it. I'm reading now. In China in the early 1900s, anthropologist Alexander Saxton, Christopher Lee, unearths the scientific find of the new century. A centuries old frozen body of a gigantic ape, a missing link. And he aims to bring back this find to Europe and boards with his find the Trans-Siberian Express. The main selling point of this movie is Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee together again. That's one of the things that gives it its Hammer feel. The period setting as well helps. The opulence of the train, and there's the Russian count and countess on the train as well. All of that gives it an air of sort of Hammer lusciousness. But one of the USPs of the film is to get to see Cushing and Lee working together and to get both of them as the heroes. It's really nice to see Christopher Lee play someone with a real stick up his ass. He's a bit of a pompous prig at the start of the movie. He's kind of pompous all the way through. It's not a role you see him play a lot, and he's obviously relishing the chance to do something different and also to play the hero. He kind of bristles at Peter Cushing's character as well at the start. They're rival scientists. Cushing is much more laid back, having much more fun, and does enjoy poking his pompous rival. But as things go inevitably to hell in a handbasket, they do have to start working together, and it's so nice to be able to see them bring to the screen something of the genuine and deep friendship we all know that they had in real life. I'd go even further, because it's so removed from their normally antagonistic roles, most notably Dracula and Van Helsing, where they don't really, because of the nature of those stories, get to spend too much screen time together. The only other example that springs to mind is The Hound of the Baskervilles, where they were able to work together with Cushing as Holmes and Lee as Baskerville. But even then, no one really pallies around with Sherlock Holmes. So I would go so far as to say, if you're a fan of Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, and if you're a fan of them together especially, this for a fan is going to be, I think, their most enjoyable pairing. Now, of course, the creature isn't dead, and when it inevitably thaws out and starts killing people, this is when the cavalcade of awesomeness begins. That if, like me, you saw this when you were young, a whole slew of things in this film will have been imprinted into your memory, from a mad Rasputin-like monk that believes that the alien creature is Satan himself and wants to worship and serve him. Telly Savalas in the final act, really lording it over everyone else and having great fun as a Cossack army man who thinks he's on top of the situation until he finds out that he really isn't. But it's the smaller touches that chill and resonate and stick with you. The eyes, both the blank white eye, bleeding eye sockets of the victims of the creature, or the red glowing eyes of the creature itself. The hairy hand, which somehow transplants itself onto one of its human victims. Peter Cushing sawing open people's heads to have a look at their brains in a nice, comfy sort of echo of his Frankenstein days. And the whistling. You will all remember the whistling, where this movie has something over John Carpenter's The Thing, I think. Carpenter's The Thing is one of those rare perfect movies. And what he was going for was paranoia. If the creature is an exact copy of the person you know, how do you know whether it's the creature or not? Would you know if you were the creature? Is something that's never really explored that much in John Carpenter's movie. In this movie, rather than playing for the who is the creature angle, there are versions of the creature that we follow. The creature's always got something in its back pocket. At first, it's the reanimated creature from the ice, this ape creature that has the ability to suck all the intelligence and experience out of a person and leave them for dead, and then move on with the sum of all the intelligences it's gathered. So gaining new abilities, but also gaining new memories, leading to one of the creepiest aspects of the film for me, when it sucks the brains of the train guard who, alone for a lot of his job, whistles to himself, but it's a mournful, doleful whistle. The creature starts whistling, so it's not just absorbing the intelligence, it's absorbing essentially you. If you were the sum of all your knowledge, memories and experience, you have been absorbed completely into this creature. So the creature starts whistling. It's this weird, horrific kind of afterlife. If all your memories in total are still there and maintained in the creature's brain, just are you still alive and aware somehow? Then when that body becomes unviable, gets shot a few too many times, we find out that the creature doesn't just absorb but can project its essence into the policeman on the train, who then becomes the creature. He gets the caveman's hairy hand. We'll ignore that. I'm not quite sure how necessarily that would work. It doesn't matter because it looks fucking cool. And that leads to the next question, because are you, but now you've had an alien consciousness downloaded into you? Or has that consciousness and all the memories that it had gathered before completely usurped you, and what you were is now a file in a much larger filing system? But you must remember everything. There's a bit at the end of the film where it hops from the policeman into the monk, and the monk has a conversation with the Countess. Well, the alien has a conversation with the Countess about how the monk always felt about her, his deepest, darkest secrets that he himself could never convey, but now has the detachment and more of a context to be able to say the things he never could have said. There's just this weird underlying creepiness that you don't actually die, you in totality get absorbed. So not really death at all, some weird kind of downloading or uploading into another body. Horrible. But the idea with the whistling, that the creature can not only take on your skills, so the lock picking, the scientific skills he's after, but also the mannerisms, like the whistling, which just gives him a mournful a mournful flavour. With each consciousness download, does the alien intelligence become more and more human, or do we just get absorbed into something that is more and more alien? And the alien is given a voice at the end, and is able to speak for itself, and I suspect duplicitously, but that's something the alien in The Thing never had. It was a very strange, completely other, although it was building a ship. Here again, this creature is trying to absorb intelligences enough to get scientific knowledge, I suspect, to go home again. But this creature has a voice, and also one final trick up its sleeve of being able to reanimate the bodies of all the intelligences that it's absorbed. So there's a sort of alien zombie army at the end as well, which who doesn't want to see that? One final word about the score, which is absolutely superb. It made me think of things like the work on early Doctor Who and the Quatermass movies from the BBC's radiophonic workshop. When the mines are being sucked, there's an almost industrial noise in the background that sort of reminded me a little of Eraserhead. But there's the whistling, the whistling of the train also, sometimes incorporated into the score to sound, I swear to God, like a human scream, which just adds, with the chugging of the engine beneath constantly as well, to the setting of the train as a compact and confining space within which all of this stuff is happening, that you can move around in but cannot escape from. I suspect that's going to become a common theme in this little mini season of horror movies set on and around trains. But we've kicked off with a real doozy. Horror Express is one of my all-time favourites. Part of the fun of this is sort of watching what would have happened if Hammer had made John Carpenter's The Thing and let that play out. But so much fun, so great to know that what creeped you out as a kid isn't laughable now as an adult. And in fact, it probably, I don't know if Hammer necessarily would have gone there. I say it's, just off the cuff, the greatest film that Hammer ever made, and keep making these lazy Hammer comparisons. But you can't deny the Spanish influence to this. It is a Spanish-British production, and that European flavour and sensibility is an ingredient in this film that just gives it a slightly different flavour, slightly different worldview, but a fantastic sort of treatise on science versus religion, a wonderful twist on the Who Goes There novella. There is absolutely no way that this is from an original story idea by Gene Martin. Nice try, Gene, but no dice. I may have started off with my strongest one, but what we're going to go to next for Blood on the Tracks is the film that you would instantly think of when someone says, oh, we're going to do a little mini season of train-based horror films. Why wait? Why delay it? Terror Train with Jamie Lee Curtis next.